Julio Jones is falling off pretty hard right now, and it's getting tough to watch. Julio Jones is easily one of the best wide receivers in NFL history, but right now he's not playing like one of the best at all. So in this video, we'll be going over the rise and the fall of Julio Jones.
Julio Jones would be released by the Tennessee Titans.
But first off, do me a quick favor by dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. Now let's get into it. The rise of Julio Jones is really inspirational and can hit home with a lot of people. He was raised by his single mother after his father left him at a young age, and he lived in a pretty violent neighborhood. But being the beast he is, he pushed through it and became a football star at his high school. He was so good that he was nicknamed Waffle House because he was always open. That's a pretty clever nickname, I can't lie. And due to his big frame and talent, the 5-star recruit Julio Jones assigned to the Alabama Crimson Tide to take his skills to the next level. And that's what he did.
I'm gonna make my decision by where I feel the most comfortable and where I feel like home at. So I'm gonna be going to the University of Alabama.
His college career was amazing, and in 3 years at Alabama, he caught over 170 passes for over 2,600 yards. That's really impressive. And everyone knew that he was the real deal, because in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected him with the 6th overall pick. And this not only changed Julio Jones' life, but it elevated the Falcons a lot.
With the 6th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Julio Jones.
He finished the season leading all rookies in touchdown receptions with 8, while his 54 receptions for 959 receiving yards ranked him 2nd among rookies in yards. And come playoff time, the Falcons were up against the New York Giants, but they lost to him. But still, Julio caught 7 passes for 64 yards, and it just so happened that the Giants won the Super Bowl that year. So yeah, there's that. And his next season was even better. He just skyrocketed into an upcoming star. Jones had 79 receptions for 1,200 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. That's really good for a second-year player. And it was his first season going for over 1,000 receiving yards and setting a career high in single-season touchdown receptions. This was good enough to earn him his first Pro Bowl. So far, his rise is looking really good, but then something happened. The following season, Julio started off on fire, but then disaster struck. Julio fractured his foot in a Week 5 Monday Night Football game and was ruled out for the entire season. Yeah, that's pretty tragic for a third-year player, especially for Julio Jones, who was on fire. But this guy is such a beast that even in only 5 games, he still finished 76th in receiving yards among 458 qualified players. He caught 41 passes for 580 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's just ridiculous because at that pace, he would have got some insane stats. But things bounced back pretty strong for the elite receiver, because in 2014, he finished the season with 104 receptions. It was his first time having over 100 catches in a season for 1,600 yards. But the Falcons sucked and went 6-10, failing to make the playoffs again. The next year was a great year financially for Julio, as he signed a 5-year, $71 million contract deal, and he definitely gave the Falcons their money worth, because he finished the season with 1,871 receiving yards. And that's the 3rd highest in NFL history, behind Cooper Kupp's 2021 season and Calvin Johnson's 2012 season. So the contract was definitely worth it for both sides. This led him to his 3rd Pro Bowl, and many people looked at his season as one of the best ever for a receiver. But the Falcons couldn't make the playoffs again. That's gotta be pretty frustrating for Julio. And we'll talk about how frustrating it was later in the video. But the next year in 2016, they bounced back and made it to the Super Bowl and played against the Patriots. That's a really good look because they didn't make the playoffs one year and the next year they're in the Super Bowl. But we all know how that ended up. Yeah, the 28-3 comeback for Tom Brady and the Patriots, one of the worst blown games in sports history. In the 2017 and 2018 season, Julio did his thing still. He consistently ranked in the top 10 players in the league, cementing his name as one of the all-time greats. But it's like that Super Bowl loss really killed their morale, because they could just never get back to the Super Bowl, or even make it far in the playoffs. At this point, it's 2019, and Julio just keeps rising. He signed a 3-year, $66 million extension, which made him the highest paid wide receiver in the league at that time. He continued to put up great numbers. He really was one of the most reliable players in football, consistently putting up insane stats. But you can only rise for so long before you start to fall. And what happens next is the beginning of the fall of Julio Jones. In 2020, he started his season off by catching his 800th pass during Week 1 against the Seahawks, and he also became the Falcons' all-time career receptions leader. But he only ended up playing 9 games that season due to injury. And injury has been a recurring theme that's held Julio back. And that offseason was strange too. I'm talking about the 2021 offseason, because a photo of Julio Jones wearing a Dallas Cowboys sweatshirt made him the subject of trade rumors on social media. It was so strange because he made an appearance on Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, where Shannon Sharp asked Julio live on TV if he still wanted to stay on the Falcons, and his response was shocking.
You want to go to the Cowboys, Julio, or you want to stay in Atlanta?
Oh man, nah, I'm out of there, man.
You out of there?
He's out of there.
Ideally, where would you like to go?
Right now, I want to win.
Okay. Well, don't go to Dallas.
Jeez, that took a quick turn. But I mean, if I was the best receiver on a trash team, I would want to get out too. And he got what he wished because the Falcons traded him to the Tennessee Titans. This was a really interesting move. The reason I say it's interesting is because the Titans had a really good receiver already in AJ Brown. And like, you can even make the argument that AJ Brown and Julio Jones have a similar build and playstyle. They're both big, strong receivers. And on top of that, they had the best running back in the league, Derrick Henry. Yeah, he's definitely the best and it's not even close. And their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, wouldn't be such a huge change for Julio, considering that he played with Matt Ryan and they're pretty similar. But what if I told you that this decision didn't work out the way we all thought it would? Because in his season with the Titans, he got career lows in receptions and receiving yards. Yeah, that backfired badly. And to make it even worse, he didn't wear his number 11 that he usually wore with the Falcons because AJ Brown was wearing it. Instead, he had to wear number 2. That's tough, he really wasn't the same Julio anymore. And to make it even worse, he dealt with a hamstring injury in November of that season. The fall off was getting pretty bad. Not looking too great for him at Tennessee. But on the bright side, his team did great. They were ranked first in the AFC with a 12-5 record, and they made the playoffs, something that didn't happen too often in Atlanta. In his first postseason game with the Titans, he did his thing, but the team lost to the Bengals. Yes, the Bengals. Even though the Bengals did make the Super Bowl that year, the Titans were supposed to win that game easily. Their team was just a lot better. And to top it off, in March of 2022, Julio Jones was released from the Titans. I mean, that's just crazy. Releasing one of the best receivers ever has to be a gut punch for Julio. So what's next? Is his career basically over? Or will he continue to be a role player on a team? One thing we do know is that Julio Jones will never be the same Julio that we saw with the Falcons. But it happens to everyone, even the very best. And with that being said, that wraps up today's video on the rise and fall of Julio Jones. Comment down below your opinions, drop a like, and subscribe to Fumble Central for more videos.